Evening, ladies and gentlemen. Hope you're all well. Range Day Bro is the channel. 256,000 subscribers. Charlie Kirk. We're back on the Charlie Kirk assassination. Ballistic dummy test raises doubts about FBI story. So, he's got a fucking full dummy here. You know what I mean? He's got a full ballistic dummy here with fucking skeleton and all. And he's going to shoot it, I would imagine, with an AOT-6 and see where we are. But not only it's not about just the bullet and the bullet wound on Charlie Kirk. That's not everything that's dodgy about this. There's a fucking lot dodgy about this. I mean, his entire security team and how they acted in the couple of minutes after his death. There's at least four of them that are very suspicious. One walks around the back and films everybody running away. One just walks off. Four of them go down with Charlie but are too busy handing each other's stuff off to bother with Charlie. I mean, it's a shit show, to be honest. It's an absolute shit show. That alone is a shit show, the aftermath of the shooting, if you actually watch what the security team are doing. So, it's a shit show, and everybody and his dog believes that there's no way he's been shot with a sniper rifle from that range. With the bullet hole in his neck, nobody believes that. Literally nobody. So everybody's questioning everything here. There's Tyler Robinson and the FBI and Donald Trump and Erica Kirk especially, who's wandering around like nout's happened at all in the world here. Our husband hasn't just been assassinated publicly. Never shed a tear really. He was always crocodile tears from what I seen. Never running makeup, no running mascara, not once. So yeah, it's all very suspicious, as many people will know. So we're gonna shoot this fucking dummy anyway. We're gonna shoot it with that sniper rifle, and we're gonna see what happens. And let's see where we are.
The chest cavity, which we clearly saw expanding after Charlie was hit. Also, given the rough measurements that I had estimated and the lack of a venue that was appropriate to carry out the shot, we had to make some modifications to even the estimated distances and angles and things like that. So we actually took the shot at a 17-degree angle, even though I had estimated it closer to a 20-degree angle. We also had no concrete data on the degree of deflection of Charlie's seat and where he was sitting based off of that back right shooting position. So we had to guesstimate that. And once I had got up in the shooting position, it was a little difficult to get into. I didn't have time to go back and adjust the dummy because I could clearly see from where I was standing that the bullet would not exit in the front left where we saw it on 910, and it would exit more so out of the side around this area, which is exactly what we saw had resulted. But I wondered if the spine would deflect the bullet slightly and maybe cause it to come out a little bit further in front of a straight line axis, which we did not see, and you'll see that here in the footage. And lastly, other little things like the wig that we have is not the same exact hairstyle that Charlie had, and little inconsistencies like that. Now, with that being said, without further ado, let's roll the footage.
Have you guys seen GSM of bearskin?
All right, guys, so we are going to break this down frame by frame. I just wanted to show you the footage in totality so you can see exactly what I was seeing when I first watched this. But the evidence really does get more damning as you watch it frame by frame. So we'll start with this frame right here. This is from a GoPro filming at 240 frames per second. Once the bullet impacts, you can immediately see that temporary wound cavity, or cavitation as it's been called, and you could see the bullet pulling the gel out as we saw on 910. That temporary wound cavity then snaps the chain in the back, which is the weakest point. And then you could see the cavity start to go down as you see some flesh fly off. And then you could see the hair react there shortly afterwards. You see the chain snapped. Again, without the upper chest portion of the dummy and without the correct trajectory, we don't have a mirrored result of the chain movement. However, you do have a mirror result still of the head movement down and to the left, as we saw on 910. Now, for those of you wondering, we put the pasty there because, as I've mentioned in past videos, a bullet going into a hairline, an entry wound in a hairline, is going to be extremely hard to see. And even after the shot, I removed the pasty and pulled up the wig to try to attempt to see the bullet hole. And because it's a mesh pattern underneath, I could not even find the bullet hole. It is that small entering, okay? So that is why the pasty is there as well, to give me a point of aim. Now, this side angle is extremely telling here, guys, okay? This cavitation you see from the side angle is what explains the shirt puffing in the back first. So Charlie struck in the back of his hairline first. That expansion blows his shirt up in the back, which is the result of what we saw on camera. And this is the exact explanation for how that happened. Even though the trajectory wasn't 100% correct, you can still see that cavitation happen. You see the chain snap immediately. You see the violent motion of the chain flying up. Again, even with the wrong trajectory, all these things are still happening. Now, in this case, with the ballistic tip bullet we were using, it dumped all of its energy within the first couple of inches in the gel. Again, this gel, that trajectory is only about 4.5 to 5 inches long. And these bullets are designed to dump all of their energy in that short amount of distance and not over penetrate. So the next test, we'll likely be using a different bullet type that would result in the type of exit wound that we saw on 910. However, it doesn't change the fact of the head movement, the chain snapping, so on and so forth, and the cavitation that we saw that would explain the puffing up of Charlie's shirt in the back first. Another thing I want to mention is you also see the dummy kind of pop up as we saw. So that's another piece of information that points to a back right shot. And again, in this case, that Hornady critical duty bullet blew out the spine out of the back of the dummy because the trajectory was off, okay? Once in the shooting position, I had a very good feeling it would not result in the exit wound that we saw because the dummy was almost positioned perpendicular from his vision to where I was shooting from. I knew that the result would not come out here. I had hopes that maybe the spine would deflect it and have it come out the front. However, once I was up there, again, we couldn't move the dummy. So an incomplete test. However, it does prove that the back right shot is most likely based off of these other factors. So you can disregard the spine blowing out because obviously we did not see that on 910. However, we did see the head movement, the hair movement, the chain breaking, and that cavitation as well. So this is another angle of the front shot filmed with the iPhone at 240 frames per second at 720p. Again, you see that extreme cavitation happen from the temporary wound cavity. You see that ballistic gelatin stretching out as the projectile passes through. And in this case, it happens up a little bit higher because of that incorrect trajectory instead of happening in the lower neck and upper chest that we saw on 910. But you can clearly see then the cavitation then goes down. You can see the hair begin to react. The chain is snapping and swinging to the front. Since it snapped in the back, it's swinging around to the front. If it would have snapped up here where Charlie's had, it would have swung around to the back as we saw on 910. Now here's another really good side angle that we have. Again, a GoPro at 240 frames per second, filming at 1080p. This one again shows that cavitation. If the shot had been better placed and the trajectory was more in line with what happened on 910, this cavitation that you see right here would have 100% puffed this shirt out as we saw on 910. And from this angle, we actually catch the bullet passing through and impacting the ground over here. So you can actually see why they were so eager to pave over the ground afterwards, because clearly there was a pass through and the bullet is likely still there or was there at one point before they paved over it. But again, you can see the hair movement lagging behind and then finally catching up to the head movement. The chain falls off of the front here. And again, an incomplete dummy, it ends right here. Here's yet another angle of that cavitation in the back that would have caused.
I mean, sorry to interrupt, but it is quite suspicious that within like 2 days of Charlie Kirk being shot, they decided to completely pave over the area where he was shot. I mean, I've always thought that was quite suspicious. It's a crime scene, and within 2 days of somebody I mean, it's never, how often are people getting murdered there, do you know what I mean? Within 2 days of somebody being murdered, you've decided in this exact place to completely pave over a grass area and put concrete there. What was the reasoning behind that? Do you know what I mean? It was very suspicious. Again, even if it was planned, why would you do it 2 days after somebody's just been assassinated in that area? Surely you would put it off and be like, oh, well, we better leave it a couple of weeks. Do you know what I mean? Nope, 2 days paved over. So very suspicious. That in itself is suspicious. So as we're seeing here, I mean, this is kind of what happened, to be honest. And he's right. If it was a bit further up and in your hairline. He said obviously he's went below the hairline so you can kind of see what's happening. So if it was actually where the target was and it went through your hair, but everything does react, and again he needs to be slightly higher coming down really and hit the neck lower. But everything does react like he says, like the neck puffs out on the when with the cavity, the chain breaks, the head reacts, it slumps to the left. All that kind of is what happens with the dummy. To be fair, um, again, I'm no expert in firearms or any of this ballistics or anything, so you can only bow down to people who are. Do you know what I mean? And the truth of it is, all I know is what I seen, this bullet wound in his neck from the front. It just didn't match a high velocity sniper rifle, really. Like, I've seen guns shoot stuff before, like this. And yeah, it just didn't really match it's again, it looks more like an exit wound than an entry wound. It is a good way of putting it. So something just seemed off, but then you've got all the Erica Kirk stuff and all the security team stuff in the background as well, which is all just as fucking dodgy as shit. So it all adds up to, I mean, somebody was asking us today, and I was saying, I believe Erica Kirk is 100% in on her own husband's death. Yes, I believe that at this point, because of how she's acted in the aftermath of it as well. I haven't seen a tear yet. Here's the body language guy has picked it up. I seen this yesterday on another channel. Erica Kirk and JD's Vance's hug and talking about body language and are these two having an affair, and she mentions that Vance is like her husband and all this sort of shit as well. So that's going on in the background as well. Is Erica Kirk knobbing JD Vance is a crack now as well. I don't know about that, but again, some of the body language, I've seen some of the people, and this is the body language guy now looking at this. It could be quite interesting. Should we have a look at it? Hold on. And we could maybe get a Heineken as well.
Okay, I can imagine what many of you are saying right now. Jesus, why are you making this video? Are you going to... No, I'm not going to anything. This is just a clip that has been making the rounds on the...
Yeah, this clip is doing the rounds. I've already seen this, as I say, that it's asking if these two are having an affair, and there's all sorts, to be honest. Christ almighty. So, I mean, I'm not too bothered, to be honest, but it's... I mean, it's kind of irrelevant in many ways, but I mean, I suppose maybe not as well if she's having an affair, and that gives more justification why she doesn't give two fucks that Charlie Kirk's just been murdered by the looks of things. You know what I mean? So I won't play it anyway, but it's out there on the body language guy. Quite a few people are talking about it. It's doing the rounds. So that's the thing as well. Is Erica Kirk and JD Vance's hug, and he like puts his arm on her hip and all this kind of stuff, and it's all very close. And he says stuff about his wife in another interview, not following his faith and all this kind of crack. And but I mean, it's all kind of irrelevant in many ways. We're talking about Charlie Kirk being shot here, but I suppose it's not irrelevant because Erica Kirk's massively in question for her behaviour in the aftermath of her husband being shot publicly to death there with a sniper rifle by some random guy apparently. She cracked on in 2 days, and fucking it's all about the merchandise. I've literally never really seen anything like it in my life. And from all the team of Charlie Kirk as well, TVSU and all these fuckers, I've never seen out like it. It's all about the merchandise, so get yourself a Charlie Kirk hat or something there, please, Erica Kirk. I'll leave it there anyway. I just thought we'd have a look at that video of the sniper rifle and getting shot from behind, and the guy and the ballistics and the yada yada yada, and continue the search for what the fuck's happened. I'll leave it there, peace.